That was for if you were on last week, but because we were going to watch we did watch what's it called? What was that movie called? Will Smith?
Right.
Bright.
Oh,
there we go.
Bright movie.
We watched Bright. Wasn't as bad as everyone said.
I said it was as good as like a Independence Day or
Hold the fuck up. No, sir. It is not as good as Independence Day. Independence Day has probably one of the best speeches of like let's go fucking kill some shit speeches of any movie ever.
Have you seen the sequel? Have you seen the Independence Day sequel?
No.
That is fucking bad, dude. Like that's I don't know. Is that the one you're talking about, or are you talking about the original Independence Day?
The original.
I'm talking about the original.
Original, I would put that up there. I think it was a really good action movie, but the sequel is dog shit terrible. Like really, really bad.
But yeah, what I was meaning is that it's a fun like popcorn movie. When people are like saying, fuck the reviews and stuff. I'm like, well, they're reviewing it against, you know what I mean? Like sometimes like your popcorn movies aren't going to get 10 out of 10. Just because a movie's not a 10 out of 10 doesn't mean it's not good. It just means it's not like freaking Oscar worthy.
Well, I think one of the reasons it got attacked so hard too is not only is this such a weird movie with a weird concept, but the screenwriter Max Landis got accused of sexual assault, and a lot of people saw that and saw that he was connected to this movie because he was a screenwriter, and immediately were like, well, fuck this movie. It already looks terrible. So it hit like a lot of hurdles before it even got out the gate.
Yeah, and they're doing a sequel, but they're like, no, I'm gonna need you to stay home for this one.
They're gonna call it Dim. All right, before we get started, too, like I've never. Should I refer to you as Scar? How should we refer to each other if we come to that?
Most people just call me Scar.
Okay, cool.
Like it got to the point when I first started podcasting, so many people called me Scar that when I went to work and someone called me Mike, I had no idea who the fuck they were talking about. Because I had been podcasting so much. I was podcasting like almost every night when I first started. Just, I was so into it that I was just hopping on everybody else's show, all kinds of stuff. And so many people called me Scar or Scarfinger that I just, like, for real, I did not recognize my own name.
That's pretty bad.
Yeah, that shit happened. It was really bad because like someone like I was at work, so someone my coworker was like Mike, and I was looking at my phone and it was like Mike, and I was like, who the fuck is Mike? Like, why do you think this? I was like, I was kind of thinking to myself, there's only two of us here. Like, who the fuck are you talking to? I was like, oh yeah, that's me. Like, yeah, that totally fucking happened. That totally happened. I was really looking around like, who the fuck are you talking to?
That's my in real life persona. I don't go by that anymore. Fuck that.
Right. Yeah. But I mean, there's not a whole lot of difference between the Scarfinger quotation marks and Mike, but the only difference is like I cuss way more.
Should I not curse? Okay, I was going to say, should I not curse?
No, fuck that shit. I might actually use this in the show. So
I was going to say, we started recording because this is my favorite way to start.
Oh no, it's over. The recording has started. Usually, I will stop the recording and do the intro and all that other stuff. You know what? Fuck it. Let's do the intro now. What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Scarfinger, and this is Scarcasm.
Yep.
And so as you probably heard already, we have a special guest. Well, Chase, since this was your idea, and this is this is your guest, I'll let you do the introductions.
Yeah, when you were started talking about like trying to get some more guests on, I was thinking maybe we should get Corey because I haven't heard much from Corey in like forever, and Mike and all them got their own little thing going on, and Corey was a good addition to the whole GIB with his drunken self. So I was like, that sounds like a good fit for Scarpasm, for a little guest.
I did kind of drop off the face of the little podcasting earth there for a while.
So did you kind of do the whole thing where you just kind of start walking down the podcasting streets with your bag over your back with the do 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 do, when all of that went away?
I wanted to go help humanity in my own way, I think. No, I've just been really busy lately, and when I was podcasting on the regular basis, when I was on GIB, it was all video game podcasts, by the way, Gamers in Beta, and I was writing for websites. I was a games journal at the time, and I don't know if you guys have ever tried to do that, or some people doing that, but that doesn't pay dick. It's terrible for pay, and it's getting harder and harder to even get paid to do that. So I have changed, professions, and right now I'm kind of working like 2 jobs, so I've just not really had time for podcasting. And when Mike wanted to make the change over to like a new format, I was just like, I'll appear once in a while, dude, but I can't commit, and I felt bad not being able to commit on the regular basis. So I was like, you guys go on, do your thing, and I don't know if anybody here has listened to the Bad Fodder Figures podcast, but it's pretty good. I really like their chemistry.
Yeah, I like it too, and I think that was the whole thing with how we roll and how what went with Matt from the 40 cast is that it's really taxing. Like on GIB, you seem to do a lot of work with your soundboard, and you would come in with like these questionnaires and things like that, to where GIB seemed like on the outside like it would have been a lot of work to put something like that together, because it wasn't as freeform as this is. And in Bad Fodder Figures seems a little bit more freeform than GIB, which I think is what those guys needed.
Yeah, it was a lot of production, but I mean, Mike did like 85 to 90% of it. He did all the editing. He was, he did almost all that. I put sounds on the soundboard, and occasionally I would make like a game show, but I mean, that was all Mike. So when he wanted to hang it up for GIB, I was like, I'm not going to protest, dude. Everything is on your back right now. So I would just go there and pretty much have fun. It wasn't too much work for me.
Well, let me ask you a question, and let me jump in here, because I don't listen to very many gaming podcasts. I just don't. It's one of those things to where earlier in my podcasting career, I was listening to a lot of different podcasts, and some of their ideas started to bleed into mine, and I didn't want to be accused of biting. So I kind of backed away from listening to a lot of gaming podcasts. So you'll have to excuse me when it comes to like the whole Gamers in Beta and all that other stuff. But let me ask you this. So you said writing game reviews and stuff like that was your profession?
Well, it was a side profession. Again, when I got into it, unless you lived in San Francisco and worked for one of the major companies, it was not going to be enough to survive on. So I was working 2 jobs, and it was like my side gig, and it was taking up more and more of my time. But since I'm on the East Coast, it was really hard to do. I was freelancing for a while. I finally found a site that I'd become a regular staff member and get paid, but it wasn't a lot. And when it came down to it, all the work I was putting into it, it was literally like pennies an hour, like if you average it into the hours. So I was just like, this is fun, but it's not leading anywhere. And all the major sites have started to shut down or to slim down or to like farm out their work to freelancers, whom they then turn around and say like, oh, well, we can't pay you, but we'll give you exposure. And like, I can't fucking pay my mortgage with exposure. So I had to give that shit up. So
was your thing mostly reviews, or did you do previews and press releases, or, was reviews a large part of what you did?
When I first started, I would do news and reviews, and news sucks because you get put on like press or email lists. So like every day you get dozens of emails from all these PR companies, and you essentially just have to regurgitate what they say to you, and doing that like really sucks. So I got out of news as fast as I could and wanted to do reviews. and I had a knack for reviews, so I did those for a while. But those are a lot of work because I like put a lot of pressure on myself to do reviews. Like I was like, I don't want to half-ass this stuff, so I would always try to beat the game. I'd try to be really thorough, and I wouldn't want to. Eventually, I was able to be selective because I've been at this website for so long. So I'd be like, that game looks like dog shit. I really don't want to review it. I was able to pick and choose, and then I started doing like opinion pieces and entertainment pieces, and it was like that and the occasional review were kind of my bread and butter. So I did a lot of like entertainment stuff and reviews now and again.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you this.
Was it kind of?
No. Don't do this because this could be gold.
Okay. Oh no! Now I'm scared.
This could be gold, and I'll give you a chance to. Think about this if you need to.
Okay.
Best game and worst game you reviewed professionally.
Oh man, best game I reviewed professionally. Fuck! Now I'm on the spot. Now I'm worried. I'm not going to.
No. If you need to think of something, you can. I'll give you time to think of something.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you right off the bat. I wish I can't remember it. If someone wants to Google this while I talk, but there was a game on the Xbox 360. It was a Kinect game, and it was kind of like a tower defense Kinect game. It was like the Tower of Babel or something like that. That was fucking bad. That was probably the worst game I ever reviewed. And there was a game. It wasn't a game. It was a movie. We got sent a free copy of a Halo movie. It was like a straight to DVD Halo movie. Mm-hmm. And I reviewed that begrudgingly, and it was surprisingly not awful. So that was essentially what I wrote in my review, surprisingly not awful. And the same PR company had another movie. It was called like Gamers or something. It had like, the actor from Jay and Silent Bob, and Zelda Williams was in it. And it was all about like gamers going to like a tournament in Vegas. And it was terrible. And I saw previews for it. And they were like, hey, this is our client. Do you want to review this? And I was like, I don't know if I have time right now. I tried to say no. And then just like lo and behold, they just sent it to me out of the blue. I'm like, fuck. So I had to watch it. I had to review it. It was absolutely awful. I usually I don't do movie reviews, but I was like, I guess I can do this. And I gave it was like a 1 out of 10 or like a 2 out of 10. It was real, real bad. And I had to send this email because when you get something from a PR guy, it's like common courtesy to email them and be like, here's the link to the review so they can turn around and show it to their bosses, see like, prove they're doing their jobs. And I had to send them that link, and it was like the worst review I'd ever done as far as quality goes. And I had to tell them like, listen, thank you for sending this to me, but I have to stand by this review. And they never send me anything ever again.
I think I've heard of that.
Does happen, yeah.
The Xbox game, I looked it up and I said Tower Defense Connect, and it said something like Doodle Tower or something like that. I don't know if that's the game that you were talking about, but that's the only one that came up when I Google searched it. Oh man, like being.
It was something Babel, I think. I can't remember. It was real, real bad. And I mean, the Kinect is dead. No one's ever going to play it. It doesn't matter. It didn't work like most Kinect games. So yeah, no one.
I actually like the Kinect, but it was very much like the Wii for me. I only really like Kinect Sports, and I liked Dance Central, and that was pretty much it. And then like being able to pause Netflix and shit by saying it, like that's really why the most use I got out of my Kinect is being able and then that one really terrible fucking Def Jam Rap Star video that I put up.
That was good until they changed it to having to say Cortana, and then it just like stopped working. You couldn't just say like Xbox pause, which was great because I had my Kinect right after my daughter was born. So like my daughter's in my arms, and she throws up on me, or I'm gonna go change a diaper. I can just be like Xbox pause, whatever I'm watching on Netflix at the time, and that was awesome. And then that went away. So that game, by the way,
I thought you could change it back.
What was that?
I thought you could go in your settings and change it back to Xbox.
Maybe you could. I got frustrated with it because then I found out it was Cortana, and then I would say Cortana. It would only work half the time. Now my Kinect is like in a box somewhere. I totally got rid of it. My wife likes those dance games, but there's Dance Central on the Switch now, and that performs beautifully. So we just fucking got rid of that Kinect.
Word on it.
Babel Rising, by the way. Sorry, Babel Rising was the name of that dog shit game. Go ahead. Sorry, Chase.
Yeah. I was trying to think of the whole name of it, but I kept thinking of that JRPG. It was like Operation Babel or something. I was like, that can't be it. But yeah, the whole Cortana thing. When I had the Xbox One, I said, "Hey Cortana, search Uncharted 4," and it brought up Gears of War 4.
she knew what was up. She knew who she worked for.
Yeah. So I just thought that was hilarious. I was like, I hope she just didn't misunderstand me. I hope that she was actually being sarcastic, because that would be awesome.
Yeah, and I think it was. You know what? I hope it was on purpose too. Like the idea that she would be like, search this PlayStation game. She was like, nah, I think I'm gonna give you this Gears. Like you go get all this Gears instead of.
You mean this Microsoft exclusive? That's what you mean, right? The Microsoft exclusive.
Absolutely, you can't play that here, so I'm just gonna find something you can play, fucker. And then like the idea that, you know, Cortana in the game, she's like really sarcastic and shit. Like I really wish that she would have said that sarcastically, like you mean Gears of War 4, right? Right? Right. Like I really wish that would have been awesome. I never got a Connect for the one. I had a Connect for the 360, but I broke mine's like really early. Like the neck was like super flimsy. Like I had to keep it steady, because if it moved, it would just tip the fuck over.
Well, you can't even play with it on a one. Like the original ones that came out, you can plug a Kinect into the back of. The second round, what is it, the S, I think, you need like this special dongle, and now they've discontinued the dongle, and there's no plug-in for the X. Like Microsoft has totally abandoned it.
Yeah, I still have my original. I bought mine a few months after launch, so I still got the original. I was gonna buy an S and give my daughter the original, but then I was like, fuck that. Like I was just be like, look, I'll just upgrade my PC and then I'll give her my Alpha, which was basically my Steam machine, because I was all in on the Steam machine idea, and then it never really turned into anything.
Yeah, I still have my my original too. I've been thinking about it, and I think it was probably the one I can think of right off the top of my head. My favorite game that I reviewed, I don't know if you guys played it or not. I believe it was on the 360. Was Double Dragon Neon.
Really?
It was the Double Dragon like reboot. Did either of you guys play that? Okay. Oh, it was so fucking rad.
Let me tell you what happened. So, I'm not very nostalgic. I'm not, I get nostalgic about some things, just not a lot. So I was like, fuck yeah, man. Double Dragon 2 was one of my favorite games ever. I'm going to get into this. I'm going to play this fucking game, and it's going to be awesome. So I started playing, I think there was a demo, and I started playing the demo, and I realized I don't know how to play these games anymore. And I just kept getting my ass whooped, and I was like, oh, that's it for Double Dragon. And that was pretty much it for me.
You didn't play Castle Crashers? Castle Crashers is a good modern evolution of that.
The very first time I played Castle Crashers, it was doing the homie Rashani's. It was doing his Extra Life, and it was like super early in the morning, and it was me, him, and Rod from the Black Guy Who Tips. And this is my first time playing. Like they had already played, and I was like, I'm having fun. I was dying, but it was still kind of fun. And then it came to the part where you got to fight over the princess. And they both said fuck it, and they tag teamed me, and then took out each other. Like they immediately turned and was like, okay, let's kill him first. Like let's just get him the fuck out of the way. Like it kind of soured me a little bit on Castle Crashers, but I ended up, that's a game that I put on for like my daughter and stuff like that. Like and when I have like the kids in the family over and stuff like that, that's usually, I'm never just gonna say, you know what I want to play right now? I want to play Castle Crash. Like, dude,
that game rules. In my opinion, that was like one of the best games of 2008, and it made Xbox Live Arcade a viable platform. Like before then, it was like real small games or like kind of like half-ass ports or like that arcade thing that they were kind of testing.
No,
but Castle Crashers, that really put...
No, sir. I'm going to tell you, the game that made Xbox Live Arcade.
Okay, wait. Oh, before you say it, I think I might know what you're going to say.
What do you think I'm going to say?
Geometry Wars?
Absolutely not. Fuck that game.
Oh, okay. Well, you're wrong then, whatever you're about to say.
Fuck that game. I'm going to tell you the game. I'm going to tell you the game that got me. I'm not going to say that this is what, this is the game that got me. It was fucking Uno. Uno was the shit. Until they added camera support, Uno was the shit. And I used to get on and I used to play just random matches of Uno with people. And like, I had like a crew, like we would get together on certain nights. And these are people that I didn't even know. Like one lady that I was playing with, like she would just get onto her son's Xbox just to play Uno. And like she would, so we were like, friends, and she would find me if I was on and be like, hey, I'm on my son's Xbox. Let's do this. And like I don't even know where she lived. I think she lived in like Michigan or some shit, which I just found out recently is on Eastern time, which is fucking weird. But, and she would find me and we would just fucking play Uno with like just random people and all kinds of shit. Uno was the game until they added camera support because people started doing real fucked up stuff. Like,
well, it was prompt when I had Uno too. I loved it. I used to one of my favorite things to do in 2006 was to get like ripped up and just sit down and play Uno with strangers and like make friends. But like when they launched it, they promised it like this is the game that's going to move like the camera. You're going to buy this game for the camera, and then the camera got delayed, which is weird that a fucking webcam like got delayed. But yeah, I remember that's what they promised. Like you can play Uno and you can look at the people, and then as soon as that launched, it just became like Pornhub or like chat roulette because people did some fucked up stuff with the cameras.
You want to know what my final straw with Uno is? I had me and the lady and another guy that we were playing with. And I can't even remember these people because we only played Uno together. So we were playing the game and then we opened the room up for randoms. And then just like everybody we played with, it was always like some teenage white dude and he would just pull his dick out for no reason at all. And then there's this one match, right? So this is like the final straw. Other than like, after then, anytime I play Uno, it was a room full of friends, no randoms. So we're sitting there and we play a game and, it's the three of us. And then the camera's on and it's these two teenage white dudes sitting there on a couch. And the match starts and everybody's chatty and stuff like that, except them. They're just sitting there grinning. And it's like, what the fuck is wrong with these dudes? And they are just grinning like they know they're getting ready to do something fucking stupid.
Dicks are coming out.
Yes. Oh, no. It was worse than that. So one guy, and so like they wait, of course, until halfway through the game. One of the guys pulls his dick out. And then the other guy starts jacking it.
Good for them. Good for them.
It's like, what the fuck is going on here? And I was like, you know what? I'm done with this shit. I was like, let's just bounce. I'm done with fucking Uno right now. Like,
no, if I got like double draw fours laid on me, I can't say I blame them. If they had two double draw fours coming at them, do it. Do the jack maneuver. Fuck these guys.
Yeah, so that was it. That was my final straw with fucking Uno. I was like, I'm done with this shit. Like and after that, I have never played that game with randoms ever again. I did because I had multiple Xboxes, 360s. At one point I had 4.
Were they all working?
Yes. One of them was special.
I don't even want to know why. Let's just continue.
It had a mod chip.
Oh, okay. Chase, you had a 360, right? Or I know you're a Sony guy now. So what was your big takeaway from Xbox Live Arcade? Like, what was your favorite first game that hit you really hard?
I guess Castle Crashers, because that was the first thing that was one of the first demos I downloaded. And then, because I would say that Xbox Live Arcade is what really got digital games going. Like, not just like
in the console
everybody.
Space. Definitely in the console space.
Yes.
Because like legit games started coming out like Shadow Complex. I mean,
oh yeah, that game ruled. Forgot about that game.
I have a confession to make.
What's that?
I won Shadow Complex from a Twitter contest or whatever like that. I've never actually played it.
Oh man, did you ever play I'm not sure how old you are. I'm not going to ask because I don't know, that might be embarrassing. But
I'm 38.
Okay, so did you ever play Super Metroid?
Kind of. I was one of those people like, okay, until the Oxbox, I was the sports game guy. I played Madden every year. I played live and, Tecmo basketball, Tecmo Bowl, like, all of the different versions of football and basketball there were. I was that guy until the Oxbox.
Well, the company that developed Shadow Complex, Share, they were very open about saying, yeah, we thought that Super Metroid was one of the greatest games ever made, and it's commonly held up as one of the top 10 games of all time. And they were like, we just wanted to make our own Super Metroid, and they did. And it's super well done. It's very smooth. The graphics are fantastic, especially for a 2D game. Yeah, man, I love the shit out of the game. That was one of the few games that I played like several times after beating it because I just wanted to, what did you call it back then? 100% it? I guess it's not platinuming it because it's not PlayStation, but
yeah,
right, yeah, 100%.
I have never. I don't think I've ever platinumed a game on PlayStation. I've always been kind of anti-PlayStation, except for the fact that I bought a PlayStation 4 first. But I've always been very anti-PlayStation. So I've never platinumed a game, I don't think.
Well, you've platinum one if you played a Telltale game on there because all you have to do is play it.
Did I ever finish one? I may have finished season 2 of The Walking Dead on PlayStation. It's possible.
Yeah, because those are like the easiest platinums ever. But I kind of like the platinum thing a little bit more than the whole 100% type deal because
there's a bit of there can be a bit of confusion because the term 100%ing a game existed before
DLC.
That whole DLC thing where they extend it, like they take away your 100%, that drives me nuts. But like I was talking about 100%ing GTA before there was any sort of a gamer score thing. So that's a little. It's just easier to say I platinum that game because then people know exactly what you're talking about. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, because the whole like the DLC thing, like on the PlayStation, the DLC has a separate meter. You know what I mean? You'll still have your platinum for doing the regular content.
They would take it.
The DLC would have its own meter, so that would be in its own little So, I mean, I guess if you go to the game like overall, it'll be all in there. But once you click it, you still have your platinum trophy. You know what I mean? That's not going away.
Does the DLC? Does sometimes let's say I bought a large story involved DLC. I'm being super vague. So I'm not even giving you an example of a particular game. But are there? Does anybody know? Is there platinums in some DLC, or does it just go up to gold?
No,
I've never seen.
No, I think they just. If you don't have the platinum by the time the DLC comes out, the DLC just adds more stuff to do before you get the platinum, as I understand it.
Oh, sons of bitches! I would not want to download the DLC then before I got the. I feel like it's putting another.
I believe it's an automatic update once that DLC comes out. If you didn't already,
no, not if you don't download it. It's not. I know that because I've avoided downloading DLC to be able to get a platinum, and then I've been like, well, I don't want to download it now because I don't want to feel like I need to do more to 100%. Like Bloodborne, I platinumed, and the first Watch Dogs I did, just not because it's a great game, just because it really wasn't that hard, except for like one.
That's another game. That's another game. I bought it and never played it.
It's not bad. A lot of people bagged on it. I thought it was a competent game. It could have been a lot better, but it was fun for what it was. The second one was leagues better.
Well, that's what I think. Like the whole hype thing is like if you take hype, what is hype? Like the word that it's built on, which is hyperbole. That's what hype is built on, which means like it's untrue. Like all hype is out of proportions. That's the actual like definition of hype. You know what I mean?
Not always.
I have not.
I've been drinking a little bit, so
yeah, I have not truly been hyped for a game since Mass Effect 2.
What? Are you high? Okay. I feel like
I intentionally decided that I wasn't going to try to get too worked up about video games, because the idea of getting hyped for a game, like, you work yourself up, and like, especially when it comes to Sony, like, sometimes this shit is like months and years away from actually coming out. So like, you see a trailer or something like that and it looks really fucking dope, and like, you are really creaming your fucking pants for months or years before the shit actually comes out. So, I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to say that looks like a game that I will play, and then leave it at that.
Well, A, you're a stronger man than I am, because I get excited about games. And B, I feel like I came onto your podcast and just immediately like wrangled it into be like, you guys are talking about video games. So I apologize for like steering the conversation directly into that.
We talk about games. We just don't play very many. I mean, I've only really been playing one game. Well, actually, no, I've played 2 games. I would have played a 3rd game this week, but it wouldn't fucking work. And then I looked it up, and apparently it's a thing.
And I asked you if you wanted to play a game on Monday, and then that never happened.
Yeah, I completely fucking forgot. I was
dude, you know what just came out on the Switch, right?
I don't give a shit about the Switch.
Uno came out on the Switch like last month.
I refuse to buy anything Nintendo for myself.
Oh, you were fucking high, dude.
I absolutely refuse. Okay, so here's the thing. I got out of Nintendo really fucking early. Like,
it's too bad.
I'm gonna tell you now. My reasoning for getting out of Nintendo is gonna seem really fucking stupid, but it's really personal to me. Okay,
let's go. I want to hear it.
There's 2 games that made me get. I've been pretty much out on Nintendo since the Super Nintendo.
Wait, did you say you played like Wii Sports?
Yes, but that was on a Wii that was not mine. It was my ex-wife's Wii, and that and Boom Blocks pretty much were the only things that I would play on the thing. But it was more of a kind of like how everybody's Wii was after a certain point, where it was the party game. Like, you had people over, or it was just like you're all sitting around. It's like, you know what, let's play some Boom Blocks. Like, it wasn't like I'm gonna turn this thing on first. So here's the thing. So I've been out on Nintendo since the Super Nintendo, and there's 2 reasons. This is gonna really hurt to say, but it's true, and I've said it on the show before, but it's been a while, so there might be a whole lot of people listening that haven't heard me say this recently. But Mortal Kombat,
which one?
For obvious reasons, for the Super Nintendo version.
Mortal Kombat 1?
Yes.
With there's no blood code? Come on, man.
Yes, that's part of the reason. And the other one, and this is gonna make me seem really foolish.
Wait, are these things that turned you off of Nintendo?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so not having blood in the original Mortal Kombat turned you off of Nintendo.
Yes, but there's a reason.
25 years ago?
Both of these games, my cousin had a Genesis. I did not have a Genesis, and both of these games are much better on the Genesis. The other game is Shaq Fu. Now, here's the thing.
Oh, I'm going to wake up my daughter laughing. That's funny.
Okay, so both of these games are like just so much better on the Genesis, and I was just like, why the fuck do I have this? Like, why the fuck do I have this crappy fucking Super Nintendo that can't play the good games that I want to fucking play? Because when I go over my cousin's house and I play on the Genesis, these games are awesome. They are not as awesome on the fucking Super Nintendo. So I was just like, you know what? Fuck Nintendo. And like,
well,
you were in the console wars way before Xbox and PlayStation.
No,
seriously, dude,
it
was a soldier.
It wasn't a console war thing. I didn't switch. I also at that time,
but Nintendo switched.
because I'm old. I also discovered women around that same time, so I had something to occupy my time instead of just straight video games. So, because it's been said many times, I've been fucking since the 5th grade. So
Motherfucker, he doesn't need Shaq Fu anymore. He's got pussy.
Exactly. So like so I walked away. I didn't come back until the first PlayStation, and I hustled to get my PlayStation. I hustled candy. I would sell blow pops and other candy that I would go to Costco, buy a box of blow pops and then flip those and then just keep doing that, and then I paid for my PlayStation that way.
Dude, I have a similar PlayStation story. Like when you say you hustle to get your PlayStation, hold on. I'm going to put a pin in that because I don't want to steer the conversation too far away from Shaq Fu yet. When was the last time you played Shaq Fu?
It was pretty much that time. But like the Shaq Fu on Genesis had like a lot of different characters, and it was just a much better game at the time to me.
That's a bad game, dude. It had like the best thing that game had going for it was an incredible amount of frames for that hardware. It was a very smooth looking game, the way the characters moved, but it's a shitty game. It does not hold up, but it's a punchline for people now when they talk about games. Be like, oh yeah, remember Shaq Fu? And everyone's like, oh yeah, Shaq Fu, it looked beautiful. But like, if you ever go back and play it, it's just like GoldenEye. Everybody has an affinity for it. You go back and play it, and you're like, holy fuck, this doesn't hold up, unfortunately.
Because I barely touched a 64 at all.
Well, that's like I love Nintendo. I'm not going to pretend like I don't have, and if I have a Nintendo tattoo, so I'm not going to pretend like, oh well, I'm completely impartial, but Nintendo is great.
I'm literally, and look, I'm gonna turn my camera on for a second, and this is going to be really fucking hypocritical.
This isn't going to be an Uno moment, is it? Should I look away?
It's not an Uno moment, but I am literally wearing a Nintendo shirt right now.
Ah, look at you, you hypocrite, motherfucker.
But it says old school 1985. So it's an NES shirt. So I'm good there.
You're good. That's my favorite console of all time. So I'll let it slide. Go ahead.
Your favorite console of all time?
Don't even get me started, dude. Yeah, of all time. It's the most important console of all time. The video game console market in America would not exist if it wasn't for the NES.
You mean it wouldn't exist without Teddy Ruxpin?
It wouldn't exist the way it does today if it wasn't.
Ruxpin. No, it's not the NES. Teddy Ruxpin.
Teddy Ruxpin was not a console. Teddy Ruxpin was a video cassette player. That was not a console.
But none of the U.S. stores would carry it unless they said, okay, if whatever distribution company was like, okay, if you want these things, then you got to take a few of these NESs with you.
Well, not true.
And that's how they got into stores. That's
true.
That's one of the stories I read.
Sears is the way they got into stores. Sears Roebuck really helped them out. Like, Nintendo was such a small-time company, and xenophobia for the Japanese was at an all-time high at that time. So Americans didn't want Japanese products in their houses. And that's one of the reasons the NES is gray and looks like a VCR and is boring, because Nintendo was like, we don't want people to think of this as a toy. This is an entertainment system, long before there's streaming or anything like that. Right. So they tried to sneak it in there as like this new piece of technology. I've never heard any Teddy Ruxpin stories.
Really? But you should look that up. It was some sort of distribution thing where if you wanted Teddy, you had to get some of these NESs in your stores.
Well, they had a really hard time getting NESs in stores until Sears Roebuck. Sears Roebuck decided that they would take them on, and they did like a tour across the country. They did it in different shifts. Like, it initially launched in the U.S. in '85, but it didn't launch like nationwide until like '87 because people didn't know what a video game console was. And like, trust me, if you're interested in video game history, read Game Over, Press Start to Continue, because that will give you a complete play-by-play of Nintendo. And especially how Nintendo came.
Wait. You're asking me to read? You do know I'm black, right?
I don't even know where to go from there.
Well, what would you do? What would you do if he said, "Oh yeah, I'm sorry, yeah."
You can get your Teddy Ruxpin to read it to you. I think that was a feature on the Teddy Ruxpin. It would read stories to you. So,
putting NWA cassettes in Teddy Ruxpin was the greatest.
Oh, that was it. Yeah, I remember putting like, oh Jesus, what did we put in the Teddy Ruxpin? I didn't have a Teddy Ruxpin because my parents were cheap, so I had like this knockoff version of like a little robot that you would put cards in. All he would help you do is like do like math and shit. So I would only get to play with Teddy Ruxpins at my friends' houses. So yeah, we'd put all like the dirtiest like all the cassettes we could find.
Like your Jerky Boys and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my god, I'm old. I didn't get the Jerky Boys until they were on CDs.
What was I going to? Oh, I had a story about the unless you guys have something you guys want to talk about.
Got it. Go ahead.
A hustling story about the PS1.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I'm pretty sure the statute of limitations is up on all this stuff, so I'm pretty sure I can talk about this. But so this was the PlayStation 1 had been out for a little while. I was a Sega Genesis convert. I was sold on that whole like media blitz that they did, like, you know, like we do what Nintendo don't, you know.
Genesis does.
Exactly. That sold me, lock, stock, and barrel. And especially I went to a friend's house and saw Jurassic Park on the Genesis, and I was like, boom, I have to buy this system. So I had.
What was the basketball game that was like the greatest? Was it Coach K?
NBA Jam?
No, it was an early Genesis basketball game that was like the shit. Hold on, you do your thing. I'm gonna look it up.
Okay. But either way, I had that for a while, and then it was out of date. I became a PC gamer for a little while, but we had a computer that wasn't that great. And one day I woke up, and I was like, it was a Saturday, and I was like, you know what? I know that my local KB Toys, another thing that dates how old I am, is doing a sale on the PlayStation for $99.99. And I was like, I have $40. If I take my Genesis and all my games, it hurts me to say this now. I took my Genesis and all my games to a pawn shop, pawned them for $60. I had just enough to cover it with tax. So my buddy, he gets in the car with me. We lived in Northern Maine. It was in the middle of fucking nowhere. So we drive all the way to the mall. It was like 45 minutes away. Go into KB. First we go to the pawn shop, pawn all that shit. Go to KB in the mall, and we're like, boom, here's the money. Give me a PS1. I'm ready to, have a modern console now. And they were like, oh, sorry, we stopped that sale like yesterday. And I'm like, what? They're like, yeah, it's back up to $29.99. I'm like, no, come on, this is all I have. I don't even have a console anymore because I just pawned all this shit. And they were like, sorry, son of a bitch. So like I walk out of the store pissed off, and my buddy's like, no, you know what? Fuck this. We're not going to go all the way back home without a console. So they had a big bin out near the edge of KB, like where the mall meets KB. And those were all the Super Nintendo and Genesis games. And we walk out and, look around. No one's looking around. We grab fucking armloads of these Genesis games, and we just walk out of the mall. And nobody stops us. Go back to the pawn shop, pawn those, come back with the extra money, got my PS1. So whether they knew it or not, they sold me that PS1 for $100.
Word up. That's you know what? If whatever works.
Yeah. Fuck KB. Seriously, why are you stopping that sale? I wanted to buy something from you, and you made me steal. They are complicit in that theft, I think.
Word up. I'm with you. And those fuckers turned into GameStop. So you know what? Fuck them twice.
Well, they got bought by GameStop. That's not really their fault. But
doesn't matter. Fuck them. I worked at a GameStop that was previously a KB.
Oh, really? I remember KB went under, and EB was not far behind them. And I think in Massachusetts they had Babbage's too. I've heard stories of Babbage's got bought up by GameStop as well.
Yeah, I've heard the name before. But yeah, Coach K. Coach K college basketball was like the greatest thing I had ever seen at that point. Like I said, until the Oxbox, I was a sports game player. I guess you could call me a gamer at that point. I don't really like the term, but fuck it. I was a sports gamer.
Oh, I remember that Genesis game. It was like a weird kind of that was one of the original ones with the weird large boxes for that game, and it was like an isometric view of the court. Yep,
yeah,
I remember that.
And the early lives were isometric, and it was just really weird. But when live was it, live was fucking it.
I think there was it was Lakers versus Celtics was another one of those early games. I remember almost buying that like a few times. Or Bulls versus Blazers. That's what it was. Bulls versus Blazers.
Yep. I mean both of those exist, so it could have been the other.
Yeah.
And then what was the NES game where it was a 1-on-1 game?
Jordan versus Bird.
No, it was a generic one.
Well, Jordan versus Bird was a 1-on-1 game. It's dog shit if you look at it now. It's a really early NES game. And I think there was a Commodore 64 version where it was like Jordan versus Dr. J or something like that. I don't know of a. Was it definitely
Hoops?
was it definitely NES?
I thought it was
Because there's a one-on-one Genesis game. And it was like Street Ball called.
It was Hoops, bro.
Okay.
It was Hoops. It was a game called Hoops. I played the fuck out of that game. But like, I'm gonna tell you the.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Oh god, the cover that is ridiculous.
Yeah, the two games that really had my attention, and especially the one that I spent a lot of money at the arcades for. Of course, showing my age now. Give and Go was everything at that time because that was the first game that you could really throw alley oops.
I never played that. I remember that coming out on the Super Nintendo, but I never played that in an arcade.
Yeah, and then of course Arch Rivals, which
Arch Rivals was fun as shit. Yeah, I remember I played that. That's in like almost every Midway classic that came out on like the PSP era. That was a lot of fun. Yeah, because you could just punch. There was straight up no rules.
Yeah, it was the precursor to NBA Jam, I guess you could say.
Yeah, NBA Jam did it way better, but yeah, it was fun.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm really looking at these games, and I was like, yeah, I remember playing that. I remember. Like, here's how old I am.
This has turned into the I Remember podcast.
Yes, I remember getting Tecmo Basketball and thinking that was the most real thing ever. I can see basketball players here. And then you look at Tecmo Basketball now, and you're just like, there is nothing real about this at all. But
it looks better than Double Dribble, though. I'll give it that.
Yeah.
Double Dribble was rough.
Yeah. Double Dribble was barely better than the 2600 basketball game.
You could dunk, though. It had that really cool black and white screen when you dunked, though. That was like the best part of Double Dribble.
Yeah, it's the only part of Double Dribble. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, Chase. Did you play any sports games back in the day? I feel like we're on a sports game kick right now.
Yeah, actually, not really. Like, because I had an NES, and I mostly played the games. Actually, I don't know how I really got most of the games, because I don't remember like going out and buying games.
Probably for
other
Christmas
than
and stuff. That's when I get a lot of mine. Birthdays, Christmas, stuff like that.
Because I remember going out, and the only game I remember going out and actually it was at Kmart, and which is it's so weird on how like recent it feels, but it's really a long time ago. You know what I mean?
Dude,
like,
walking into a Kmart it feels like you're stepping back into like 1993. It's really weird.
The only one that's here in Richmond, they're in the process of closing because they just put a Walmart less than a block away.
They feel like they've been closing for like 15 years. It's so weird.
Yeah, they got bought out by Sears, and I remember I worked at a Kmart, and we all wore red shirts, and then when I went back to the same Kmart I worked at, like after I'd quit and stuff, they were all wearing blue shirts, and the guy that I used to work with is like, yo, you got to wear blue shirts now. I'm like, that's cool.
Soldier.
See you later, dude. But anyway, I remember going in the Kmart, and I had bought, I didn't buy it, but I had picked out Platoon. And when that game was super fucking hard, dude. Like when the guys would come at you and you could shoot them, that wasn't so bad. But randomly they would like just fall out of the sky or the vines. You don't know. It's so random, and it's like an instant kill. You're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, that was a very half-assed made game. It was a Sunsoft game. It made very little sense that it even existed because what kid in like 1987 was like, yeah, I love I almost call it Platoon in the theaters. Like, that is a brutal war movie, the rated R war movie. And they're like, yeah, let's make this game for kids, not rated, whatever, fuck it.
Yeah, I guess I just saw it as like an army game, you know what I mean? And I had never seen the movie, so I got that because I wanted like something, because I'm like 12-year-old kid what 12-year-old kid doesn't like army shit? But the guns and all that.
Yeah, there's dog tags like right there on the cover. I mean, fuck it, this is gonna be fun.
Yeah. So but I had like the Super Mario, and I had that Billy Bayou, whatever.
Bayou Billy, yeah.
Bayou Billy and Milan's Secret Castle, but then I never got a Super NES, and I always wanted one for. I mean, the RPGs and stuff look really cool, like Chrono Trigger and stuff like that. The
Super Nintendo has the only Final Fantasy game that I actually put a decent amount of time in.
Yeah, like a lot of those early. Well,
it was the one with Cecil and them. I couldn't tell you which one it was, but I know one of the main characters' name was Cecil, and I fuck with Cecil. That was my dude.
I think it's Final Fantasy IV. I'm not a huge Final Fantasy buff, so I could be wrong, but I think it's Final Fantasy IV. If you were into RPGs, especially JRPGs, Super Nintendo would have been the way to go. Like Secret of Mana, Chrono Trigger, Final Fantasy, that would have been. I went Genesis, so because I was like, oh, I don't need this like baby Nintendo shit. I was in my like stupid, I hate everything teenage phase, totally tricked by marketing. So I was like, I don't need that. So I never got into the JRPG. I was fine with my decision until it got like outdated because I was good with Sonic. I was good with like the Earthworm Jim. I thought I preferred the Aladdin for Genesis. I don't know if you guys ever played Aladdin for Genesis, but holy shit, that game was amazing.
I think I played it a long time ago, but it wasn't very memorable because, of course, I was only into sports games.
Yeah, so I didn't get a Super Nintendo. I did get a Game Boy, and I did play a lot of, one of my favorite games of all time from back in the day was Super Mario Land 2. Mm-hmm. And I mean, that game was awesome on the Game Boy. But
no, I'm gonna tell you the most awesome Game Boy game that no one ever talks about.
What's that?
Motherfucking Spider-Man. Spider-Man on the Game Boy was the shit.
Which one? Are you talking about the one with the Punisher on the cover?
Hold on, let me look it up because it's been a while.
As I say, there's a few. There's the Amazing Spider-Man. I can't remember the one with the Punisher on the cover, but back then. Marvel was in dire straits. So if you wanted to put anything, you know what? It's actually it's the Punisher game with the Spider-Man on the cover. That's what I'm thinking. So, but I remember if you had a Marvel property and you wanted to add any other characters, Marvel just didn't give a shit because Marvel was like in the toilet at the time. So you could put anybody in anybody's game. So yeah, you always got a ton of crossover. I don't think I ever played Amazing Spider-Man for Game Boy.
I think that was the one I was talking about.
Yeah, but Amazing.
Yes, because that's the one that's in black. That was before all of the Game Boy Color and all of that other newfangled shit that y'all kids are into. I feel like really old because he's talking about playing Platoon. I almost said it's Splatoon also. He's talking about playing Platoon and shit. And I'm like, you little fucking kids. I remember playing Combat with 2 controllers by my goddamn self. Like that type of thing. Like that's...
Well, there was 3 or 4 Spider-Man games, just like Spider-Man 1, Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man 3 on Game Boy, like on original pea green Game Boy. But I know straight up Amazing.
It was the first one.
Okay, it was Amazing.
Yeah, that game was awesome. I mean, then of course Tetris, but Tetris is on everything.
You know what I was getting at is that the after the Game Boy and the original Nintendo, I really didn't really get into games at all until the PlayStation 2 because I got really into music. I was like playing in bands and stuff, and then Silent Hill 2, I saw that in the
man,
I was like, dude, that looks really cool. Maybe games are like becoming more or less of a a kid thing, and like this could be really good. And then when I got it and then I played it, and I was like, dude, games are freaking
amazing.
Like I played a Silent Hill game once.
That was hold on before
we're not talking to you right now, Scar.
Before we get away from 2, dude, that was a great game to bring you back because Silent Hill 2 is not only easily my favorite Silent Hill game, but it's one of probably my top 10 games of all time. That game is so fucking good and so super dark. Like, let alone like just really, really scary and like fuck with you and like gorgeous game, especially on the PS2. But it was just so dark. Like, okay, spoilers for a 20-year plus game, but you find out that you are the one who murdered your own wife in the end. Like, it's such a fucked up concept. I remember playing that game in I think it was like my freshman year of college.
You're pretty clear on spoilers. The only thing that we don't spoil around here is KOTOR.
Okay.
We do not spoil KOTOR.
But I would highly recommend playing Silent Hill 2 if you never played it. It's got my favorite protagonists of the Silent Hill games. It's got my favorite ending of the Silent Hill games. It's just, and they didn't have to rely on the fog as much because they couldn't render the rest of the town. They relied on the fog because it was fucking scary. So
right, because Silent Hill was the game that where I was like, man, I think games are like really great now. And then I was looking for other games like that, and of course I never found one because I always get myself into these games that's like, you know, these unique like anomonies. Dude, freaking beer.
And that's the show title.
I'm not the only one drinking, I guess, huh?
His show titles are normally me fucking up words. Just
Anomonies is a good one.
But yeah, like so I tried out like Devil May Cry. I did like Devil May Cry, but it wasn't what I was looking for. And then so when I got into other games like now, like
you play a lot of like
out of high school.
You're into like a lot of Japanese stuff, right? Like you're a big Shin Megami Tensei guy, right?
Yeah.
That's what I thought. Do you have a Switch?
I do not, but I do want a Switch. But here's the thing with me and the Switch is I really want one, but this house would be a docked only because I'm not having a 10-year-old kid walking around with a $300 console. It's docked only. That thing is getting duct taped in that thing. It's not moving.
Well, I understand that, but like the half of it is the fact that it can come out of the dock, and I'm not saying leave it out of the dock so your kid can walk around with it. I'm just saying put a padlock on it that you have the key to, because like if people are watching TV, you can just take that shit out and lay on the couch next to them and play. You can play on the shitter. You can go lay in the hammock and play. Oh, dude, so good.
You can play the Switch when she wants to play the PlayStation.
Exactly.
Yeah, because she's on the Vita TV right now, which takes up the PlayStation basically. Well, we only have one. We only have one big TV. We had the smaller TV that has that 360 on it, but because that's the other thing is like is we were thinking about getting another Xbox One, and then my son really wants an Xbox One. He's like, I want an Xbox One, and I was like, why do you want an Xbox One? What do you want to play on it? Well, Minecraft. I was like, you play that on everything.
You can play that on your phone.
You play that on the 360 too, and then but he's like, okay, I want to play Roblox, and I'm like, no, you're not playing Roblox. I am putting my freaking.
I had to do that with my daughter. My daughter cannot play Roblox when she's with me at all. She can play at home, as long as she's supervised, but she absolutely cannot play Roblox in my house. Not at all.
Cause what you guys were talking about, like the I can't even remember what we were talking about earlier. That was online interactions or whatever, like
Uno.
Oh yeah, Uno. Like so the Roblox is like that to where everything is user generated. So your kid might go into a room that all the freaking rooms are just filled with hentai. You know what I mean? So I'm like, I just no, it's just not going to happen. Like it's basically Minecraft MMO, and like just play Minecraft, dude.
Yeah.
You got to put a Switch in her hands, man. Let her play Mario Odyssey. It's fucking amazing.
Yeah, he every time we go into Walmart, he wants to play Mario Odyssey like on the thing. I'm like, so Mario Odyssey is going to be a hit with the kid, but I know that for a fact. And I do want to play Splatoon, and I know that SMT5 is coming. I haven't played any of the non-Persona SMT games, so I'm a little kind of hesitant because I heard they're brutally fucking hard. But, you know, on the Switch, I'll definitely give it a shot.
What was the? I don't play any of the Persona games. I don't play any of the Shin Megami Tensei games. But what was? So forgive me, anyone listening who is a big Persona fan. But what was the Persona game that came out last year that was like an enormous hit? Everybody fucking loved it. Five was
Five.
And you played that, I assume, right?
Yes.
So what did you think of it?
That's the reason he still has a PlayStation.
I want to know. Give me like a brief synopsis of your feeling of that game, because like you're probably the person I know the best who definitely played that game. So like I want to tell me about it.
Score hates this, but like because I talked about it a lot last year. But
but it's better you talk about that than Blood Boring. I'm really sick of hearing about Blood Boring.
Oh, it's such a good game though. Go ahead though.
Like the easiest way I can describe Persona is Pokemon for adults, to where you get the whole collecting like thing, like creatures type type thing, like in Pokemon, but it's not like, oh, I'm collecting this little cute little thing. It's like I'm collecting like Japanese demons. You know what I mean? So, but the whole story stuff is normally
technically they could be the same.
Yeah, like Yokai Watch is probably more similar since Yokais as a whole.
Yokai looks a lot like Pokemon.
Yeah, my son's really into the anime. Like I which is really weird. It seems like that would be a really Americanized anime. But that show is really freaking weird, dude. That show's very anime.
How many hours did you put into Persona 5? Like, I'm hearing like a huge range of hours people are putting in.
I think it was about 90.
Jesus.
Because Persona...
For perspective, I put about that much time into Mass Effect Andromeda.
Yeah, into Andromeda?
Yes.
Really? In the multiplayer?
But here's the thing. Here's the thing about Persona is that it's not like an open world game. Well, I mean, it sort of is. You can go to different areas and stuff. But like if you play Skyrim, like most of your hours is I am going from point A to point B, and it's going to take me a long time because I'm walking there. But Persona is just that long. Like it's actually kind of a linear game, and it's designed because it goes from day to day. You know what I mean?
So there's no grind to that game.
There is a grind. Like the first time I played through any game, I play it on easy, and if I want to have a challenge, I'll bump it up. So if you like whenever I say how long a game is, I gauge it on how long it takes to play it on easy. I was like, oh, you beat that game in 6 hours? Well, you must have been playing on easy. I'm like, of course I was playing on easy. Like, I'm not going to gauge a game because like I died a bunch of times. It's like I'm going to gauge a game's length is if I die the least amount of times, how long is it going to take me to get to the end? Like, of course, duh. You know what I mean? But yeah, it is long, but it doesn't feel that long, at least to me. And like when you were saying the whole like Scar and gaming podcast, it's because nobody is going to convince Scar of anything. Because I thought I was going to convince Scar that like he would like Persona because he liked Mass Effect because of the whole like. Having a relationship with your friends and your teammates and all that stuff and building like friendships and all that kind of stuff that he would like dig. But nah, he's pretty he's like an old man. He's stuck in his ways.
Dude, you can't get through to him. He gave up on Nintendo because there was no blood code. He's a lost cause. He's a lost cause.
True. That's all true.
But yeah, my first Persona game was Persona 4 Golden on the Vita, and I heard about it, and I was like, you know what, I might give this a shot because I do like some anime, because I'm pretty picky when it comes to anime and stuff. It would have to be something like Akira or Ghost in the Shell or Psychopath or something like that. But then when I played it, I started getting into it, and I really got into it to where I think Persona 4 Golden is my favorite game of all time.
Wow.
Even though I only played it like a year and a half ago, you know what I mean?
And that's very, very story heavy, right? You'd say that's more, it's like character driven and story driven, right? Those games. I mean, as far as the gameplay goes, that's not, it doesn't blow your pants off, right? It's pretty much all story.
Well, it's a lot of story, but like there's definitely dungeon crawling. Like it's like in Persona 4, it's what you call it, like how Diablo is, like the.
Oh, really?
Well, not isometric, but it's like
right, yeah.
To where it's it's not the same all the time. What do you call that?
Procedurally generated.
Yeah, like some of the levels are procedurally generated in the dungeons or whatnot.
What kind of generation is it?
Procedurally.
Don't be a dick. You already got your title for the show.
Oh no, he got drunk. He got drunk the last episode and actually closed the show before I was intended to close the show. So this is just payback.
but yeah, like right now she's going through and like there'll be enemies, but the difference in like Final Fantasy is I remember playing Final Fantasy X and I'll be just like walking through a field and all of a sudden, oh, there's an enemy. And I was like, I didn't see no fucking enemy. It's like it is appear, But this one, it's like you'll see the enemy kind of crawling around and you go up and hit it with your sword and you can like get away from the enemy if you wanted to just go right through the boss, but. So you can grind and like get your levels up that way, but it's definitely like a turn-based RPG. So, yeah. But outside of that world, which is going into like another dimension, you're going to school, you're like dating girls, doing your thing.
There's a 6-year-old that's a head of a household.
Well, yeah, but
obviously.
But yeah, and it's addictive. Like I don't know, like it had the kind of are you a fan of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, like the show?
I never watched the show, no.
But yeah, it's kind of like that's where you have that Scooby game, the Scooby Gang aspect, because in 4, there's murders going on, and you're teenagers and you're like, we got to figure out these murders. So you have this kind of Scooby Gang aspect, which I really dug, and I don't know, it really clicked. And I think if you have a Vita or a Vita TV, like the PS TV, it's the best thing on that, hands down.
I've never met anyone who was like, the Persona games are all right, or Shin Megami Tensei is okay. I've either met people who don't play them, which is me. I have zero interest in those games, or people who just are rave about them, who are completely addicted to them, who love them. It's a black or white, all or nothing kind of thing. So I'm fascinated.
That plays them and don't like them, because normally people that either people don't care about it or never played it, or they love it, because it's weird. I played it. Well, I have heard people that's I tried this and it wasn't my thing or whatnot because they heard it was good. But I was like, well, how long did you play this game? Because
you need to put 90 hours into it before you decide.
Yeah, because 3 hours in the game, you're still taking a test in school. So come on,
fuck that.
But
yeah, how many hours did we put into the live stream and we didn't actually get into any real gameplay?
You were mostly figuring out your Twitch password and shit, so that doesn't count. But yeah, I really dig them. So I'd say give it a shot. You know what I mean? If all else fails, because I always said you can find a copy of Persona 4 Golden for at most $20. And the PS TV is $30 for $60, you can have a little console and the best game to play on it. You know what I mean? That's what I always tell people that would kind of pseudo into it. But
yeah,
I'm kind of done with trying to convince people of shit. Scar broke me of that.
I don't really like Japanese stuff. I'm not really into anime. I don't really dig Japanese games. I'm just not really into Japan.
But yeah, but this year we're actually going to do another live stream to try to get back in it. It's going to be for Extra Life, and I'm going punny with it. I'm going Persona for charity. Persona.
Oh, look at you! Already got the game or the name already. What's your let's plug your Twitch channel then. Are you guys doing it on Twitch, I assume?
Yeah, Awakened Heathen on Twitch. I think I'll do it on Twitch because right now I'm doing it on YouTube a lot because, I have a PC. And, doing it on Twitch, to get it on YouTube, you kind of have to have the PC to, send it to YouTube. So I'm just doing it straight to YouTube right now because, last year I got a whole bunch of shit stolen, which fucking sucked. But,
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I remember you telling us about that on GIB.
Yeah, that's why I said Persona 5 saved his PlayStation.
Yeah, because I brought Persona 5 and my PlayStation with me where we were going because I just bought it. And I was like, dude, I'm just going to play Persona 5 this whole time, which I did. And, but that was the only game I had after I got back.
Ugh, that sucks, man.
Okay, but, so I looked this up, right? So, because, I don't really care about Persona at all. So I looked this up. And my time played on Mass Effect Andromeda, my total time played is 6 days, 28 minutes.
So what is that in hours? Because I suck at math.
144 hours and 28 minutes. I did all of the math too.
And you played zero multiplayer? That was all just
little bit. I played a little bit of multiplayer, not nearly enough.
So I assume you played through the game a couple of times?
Yes. Almost 3.
Jesus, man. I heard a lot of bad things about Andromeda. I'm surprised. It's nice to talk to someone who I assume you liked it since you put that many hours into it.
I am a Mass Effect fan. I am a Mass Effect fan, and I have played the first 2 games at least 13 times each. And the third game I played about 5 times. One of the times doesn't really count because my ex-wife hurt her hand, so she couldn't play, so I played for her, and we used to connect, and she would yell out commands Wow.
That's right. I forgot about that like party. That was one of the things I used to Kinect for. I forgot about that. You could tell people to like cover or like go to certain points. Yeah.
And you could switch your weapons.
That's right. Yeah.
That was kind of cool. And like if you had a shotgun, you say boomstick and it knew shotgun. You know what I'm saying? Like shit like that.
Yeah.
That was fucking awesome. But yeah. So I put 6 days into Mass Effect Andromeda. I
haven't played Andromeda because it just came out with like a slew of other games, and I just have yet to get around to it. But I would say like the Mass Effect trilogy was one of the most important things to come out on that console generation, on the 360 generation. That was like an amazing contribution to video games. And even though one was not what's the word I'm looking for? It could have been slimmed down quite a bit, and I actually like the way it was slimmed down for 2. But holy fuck, that entire trilogy was great. And this would not have been a very popular opinion years ago, but I liked the ending. I liked how it closed on 3.
Oh, me too. I like the original ending. I like the original ending, but when they added the ending, when they expanded the ending, I was just like, okay, that just made my choice better.
I didn't even go to it. I didn't even play it because I was like, I ended it, and then like there was that giant backlash, and I heard that they changed it, and I was like, fuck it, I don't care. My ending is the canon ending, and I'm not going back and playing ever again. Like I didn't want to even see what it was.
So what was your original ending?
I had the 3 options. I wish I could remember the color. I just remember that after whatever I chose, I think Shepard died, and like the whole rest of the crew like launched off to some strange planet.
That happens no matter which color you choose.
Well, then people were like all these like hybrid synthetics.
Okay,
they were
so
like
you went green.
Okay, yeah.
Originally I went blue. I did not have the green ending the first time.
Yeah, I went green the first time too, and I thought that was a beautiful ending. And I didn't know what the uproar was about, and then later I heard that it was because none of your stuff really mattered. But then
here's what I tell people.
Hold on. I want to hear the end of Chase's thought, because I think I agree with him too. I think we all agree here.
That the whole thing, like, yes, like all the little decisions don't really matter in that one point, but it matters through the whole thing. Like, if you didn't save Rex, he would be dead. You know what I mean? Like, so if like the whole thing,
you had to let Reeve be the leader, and then you always sabotage the shit because you don't really want Reeve to have a whole bunch of kids.
I never lost Rex. I lost the bald chick, whatever her name was, the angry bald chick.
Oh,
the one, had a lot of biotic powers.
Yes, I lost her on a playthrough a couple of times. But go ahead, Chase, because we can talk Mass Effect. I could do that.
Oh yeah,
that's some shit I can do.
But yeah, because like it matters through your journey. Like it matters
exactly.
Like, just because it doesn't matter in that point. Like every game you play, like think of a big RPG, like a big like Fallout. Like everything that you do throughout that game matters throughout the game. But does it matter when you're fucking wrecking shit with Liberty Prime? No. Like people need to shut the fuck up sometimes, and sometimes. Like I said before, they just need to like the whole movie to video game thing. Like it pisses me off sometimes because people didn't bang on Stanley Kubrick's door because they didn't understand the ending of 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Change it.
Change, you motherfucker.
They had a petition. It was embarrassing. I just started writing about games shortly after that happened. And I was at my first website, and no, actually, I take it back. I'd been writing for a little while. I left this website and actually came back to this website. So I was managing other writers. I was like their copy editors. And one kid was way into the idea of the Mass Effect ending sucking, and the fact that like he was like championing that whole thing. He was like, yeah, like we're really causing a movement here. This is like an important movement. Sign this petition. And I was like, are you fucking serious? Like I was so embarrassed by that fucking kid.
Knox shout out to Knox. Knox is all in on indoctrination theory, and that fucking document that was going around at the time where they explained why Shepard was indoctrinated at the end of the game and all of that other shit. Like, he was totally into that.
It never made sense because, to me, people talked about how, like, it was so stupid that you played this whole trilogy, none of your things mattered, and that it came down to, like, one of three choices. And I'm like, I think that's incorrect because, A, you don't have any idea how fucking hard it is to make a video game. B, to make a story with branching storylines takes hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pages of script, let alone writing the actual code for the games. It's very difficult to do. And the fact that you're mad that the story wasn't completely different because you saved X and let Y die, like, it's exactly what Chase said. It's not about the ending. It's about the journey. And did you enjoy the journey? That's what the game is the journey, not the ending, not the credits. That's not the fucking game. Who plays a game to watch the credits? It's to enjoy the journey. And I felt like the third Mass Effect, that whole game was an ending.
That's not exactly what I was going to say.
There you go. Go ahead.
If you think about it, like, this is how to say what Chase said really, really simply. If you stop thinking about the ending as the ending, and you think of the whole third game as the ending, because
hold on. Stop. You're like, I can't hear anything. It's like,
yeah, I couldn't hear it either. I thought you were doing it on purpose at first. I thought you were doing some sort of... Your mic is like fucked up. It's like wah 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 wah. I can't hear you.
He's became Skrillex.
Seriously,
like, on the scarf finger. Wow.
Talk more.
I don't know. But damn, this red eye.
I restarted my voice meter. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, now you sound great.
Okay.
So yeah,
it does that. It does that sometimes. No, fuck that shit. It all stays. I only edit when we have like real fuck ups. And that's not a real fuck up to me. Actually, I'm just lazy. The easiest way to say what Chase took a long time trying to say, and what you just said, is if you stop thinking about the ending as like, okay, all of my choices were supposed to matter here. If you think about it, the whole game, all of your previous choices mattered. The whole point of the third game, you spent the whole game settling beefs that have been like long-standing for thousands of years and all of this stuff. Like, you really had to, like, each section of the game, like, you really had to, bridge these very wide gaps between different types of, I guess, for lack of a better term, people. And in like the things that you did in the previous game, like, you know, like saving Malin's data, like that shit really mattered in the third game. If you didn't save that data, everyone's gonna fucking die. You know, like, you know, all of the Krogans are gonna die if you didn't save that data, because the shit never actually works out right if you didn't save that data. And then, like, Rex being alive, you said that Rex survived in yours. I didn't even know you could kill Rex until, like, I had to make it happen. And like the you know, like the part where Rex dies, like, I had to intentionally choose all of the wrong things to see what happened. And then, of course, I went back on my save and I was like, fuck that, because Rex is awesome. He's not the best. He's not the best. Shout out to Blue. He's not the best. Garrus is the best character, but is the best sidekick. Yeah, that if you think of the whole game as the ending and everything, all of your choices mattered in that game because it could go different ways. And that's how you if you look at it that way, then the game is much more enjoyable.
I agree. And, like, you're absolutely right about ending beefs. Like, they address the genophage that like Rex's species went through. They addressed the whole I don't remember Tally's species, but that whole thing going on between Tally, between them and the Geth, they addressed that, and you have to choose. I was never able to, like, settle that. I always had to choose, so I had to choose the destroying the Geth, and that, like, fucking killed me on the inside. You know, like, I felt terrible about that, but, like, Tally was my girl, so.
If you play it again, before you get to that last mission where everything happens, make sure that you save Admiral Chorus. If you save Admiral Chorus, it all gets heated like it always does right at the end. But Admiral Chorus is the one who says, "Okay, y'all need to calm the fuck down." Like but you have to save him before that mission, because if he dies, no one on the Quarian side is going to be a voice of reason. They're like, oh, the Geth just stopped firing. It's time we gonna fuck some Geth up today. Like that, and then he's just like, calm down, just let Shepard do his thing. Like, we owe it to Shepard to do this because he looked out for us. Let's look out for him, like that type of thing. So you got to save Chorus first.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I love Mass Effect, man. I fist bump my wife with some Mass Effect right there. Fist bump the wife. Yeah, she's a big Mass Effect fan. You know what I mean? So,
yeah, I was heavy into it for a while. I read a bunch of the novels. I was reading the comic for a while. Yeah, I was way into that universe. It was a beautiful universe that they created.
I didn't read the comics. I did read the first novel before the game came out, because of course the game was pushed, because originally it was supposed to come out in August, and it got pushed to like October or November or something. So I read the first one, and the first one is great. Like, I hate the situation like this game and like Halo, where so much of the story is in these books and not in the actual game. Because like you read the first book, and then when you play the game, the conversation about like what happened between Admiral Anderson and Saren is just a short conversation, and it's just like, okay, well, what the fuck happened? Why does Saren hate you so much? And he goes, well, we had a little problem, and he hates humans. But like, that whole book is what happened. And like, then you find out that, Admiral Anderson was supposed to be the first human Spectre, and then and then Saren fucked all that up, and like all of that stuff like is all in the books. And then like, when you get to in Halo, if you didn't read the books, you have no idea who the fuck the guy in Halo 4 is.
Yeah, like I read a lot of the Halo books too. I was pretty into that universe for a while. It eventually got boring, but I don't mind that as much, because a lot of people will play Halo or will play a game like Mass Effect and be like, cutscene, fuck it, go to the next thing. I want to play. Let me just shoot things. Let me just play. And they don't care about lore. And so it's not like forced down their throats, but it's there for people who want to know it. And then when they acknowledge something that happened in the books, it's like, oh shit, I know what that's about. That's cool. I appreciate that fan service.
Yeah, that was kind of how I was with like Persona. Like, when I first started to get into it, when I got the game, like a friend of mine was like, oh man, you're like that game. Like, there's so much freaking going on. You're not going to know what's going on. But when I played it, the characters don't know what's going on either. Like, so I was like kind of learning with them, so there's all this lore that you can, but when you first start playing a game, you don't have to know all that shit. Like, after you've played the game and like actually say that I like this, then you go into the lore if you want to figure out that the guy that's behind it is a little butterflies that you save. But
oh, and that thing in Mass Effect 2 where you could, I don't remember what it was called. It was like the index, where you would go into it and you would click on like this planet. Yeah, the codex. And that guy would be like, and he would talk about this planet. I could listen to those for fucking hours. I listened to every single one in that game. I love that guy. I love that guy's voice. I love the fucking documentary type aspect of it. I just thought it was the coolest shit ever.
You used to be able to download an OS app where it was the codex, and he would actually read to you on your, for me, on my iPad, because I never had an iPhone, but on the iPad. And that was also the N7 Codex app is also how you could raise your readiness level on for Mass Effect 3 without having to play multiplayer.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah, that's right.
Now you have to go to a website.
I listened to all of them in game. Like, I could sit there and spend like hours just doing that. The Turians, blur, 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 blur. It was fascinating, and they painted like great.
That's what like I know that you're like, if you hear the term Destiny, you're like, oh, I'm checking out. But but that's what Destiny needed. Like the first Destiny,
it needed that in the game.
Yeah, it needed that in the game to where someone would talk to you and tell you about this stuff. Like if I thought about Mass Effect, I was like, well, actually, like, this stuff wasn't shoved down our throats. It was in the codex, just like Destiny, but
it was in the app.
app.
Right. It was in the app, and I did read them, but I still got bored with them. I got bored with them way faster than I got bored with Mass Effect.
But yeah, but there's some really good ones though. Like there was one about the certain gun that like this one guy had, and he went it was really good. Like
there was a
really
podcast. There was a podcast that Pimp was really into, and he was really like cool with those dudes, and so I listened to the podcast a couple of times, and they would go into the what's it called, the etymology of like the origins of names and all of that other stuff about like just the guns and shit. And I'm just like,
for Destiny,
yeah, and it was like, what the fuck? Like this is it is kind of cool, but also it's fucking Destiny. So yeah, I think I'm out.
The Grimoire cards, right? That's what they're called.
Yeah.
Grimoire cards. Yeah,
but it
Which
goes
is a
into
weird
like
name.
much detail. It goes, well, a grimoire is like a book, right?
Yeah, Grimoire is like technically like a magic book, like dark arts. You know what I mean? Like Satanism.
yeah,
you know
like
what I mean?
magic and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, like Satan.
Really?
So Satan, you're really highlighting Satan here.
Right. You really just
So
pissed off all of the Christians. Thanks, dude.
I think our Christians probably tuned out a while ago. I feel like we've like bored everybody because we totally nerded out. I've had a lot of fun like nerding out here, and I feel bad if we've turned anybody off. Why are they talking about video games so much?
Okay, so
This dungeon that Amber's playing right now in Persona 4, you'd probably really like, because the enemy, like, I don't want to spoil anything, but the enemy's kind of like this big nerd or whatnot. So the whole dungeon is like this video game type thing, and all the like themes, like the battle themes and stuff, are now in chiptune. And like the main boss is like this like blocky like.
So it's Ready Player One.
Yeah, it is a cool dungeon. I really like it, and I like the whole how they chiptuned all the themes and stuff. It's cool.
You say chiptune, you're blowing my skirt up if you say chiptune.
Okay, we totally nerded out, but let's just go into, before we wrap this up, we can skip all of the other stuff because I haven't really watched a whole lot. However, I did start the current season of Black Mirror.
Oh, dude, can we discuss the USS Callister?
Bruh. Okay, so here's the thing.
It's the only one I've watched. I've watched season 1, episode 1, and then I heard so much about USS Callister that I watched it like 2 days ago.
Season 1, episode 1 is the only episode that doesn't have some sort of, it's not really like technology based or like something.
It's so fucked. It's fucked.
It's super fucked. But Chase and I we've previously discussed possibly going through episode by episode of Black Mirror, so I can't really go too deep into it right now.
Okay.
But that the USS McAllister is the most fucked shit ever.
It's really cool, and I feel like whoever wrote it did their homework as far as what is involved in a video game. So a lot of times you see video games represented in pop culture, and it's embarrassing. They just throw out a few like terms, like whenever it's on Law and Order. It's embarrassing the way they refer to video games. USS Callister knew what they were doing. They used the term MMO a bunch of times, and they use the term procedurally generated and stuff like that. I was really into it, and as a fan of like old sci-fi and stuff, I like the acknowledgments to old the original Star Trek series. So I won't go into it if you guys plan on later.
I have one problem with that whole episode. If you build a character based off of DNA from that character and not from the person itself, how does the DNA from whatever you use to make the character have the person's memories?
Well, there's the theory of memory locked in DNA. People have talked about. I mean, really, that's where you're going to go with what's outlandish in that episode. There's a lot of things outlandish in that episode.
Absolutely.
But I think, well, the fact that maybe he had that technology and nobody else knew about it, that's kind of bizarre too.
Yeah.
To think you could create but it's really cool. I don't want to spoil it for anyone who hasn't watched it.
The whole time I was just saying, like, Landry put on weight, like, to follow the Friday Night Lights watchers. Landry put on weight. Like, he was like really chunky in that. A lot of people know him from Breaking Bad. I think.
The guy who looks like Matt Damon. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, what do they call him? They call him Meth Damon.
Yeah, that's what all my friends call him, is Meth Damon. And not only that, like he played such a good role in that episode that like you feel like he's supposed to be the guy that you sympathize with, and I won't say anything else.
Right.
But it's a really fun episode, like super fun. It reminded me of fun episodes of Twilight Zone. I'm like, this is what Black Mirror should be, Twilight Zone.
It definitely is. You need to watch more. You need to watch it all. Like, seriously, watch it all. But I watched the first 2 episodes, and it's been great so far. But, there's some episodes of Black Mirror. I call it Black Mirror. I watched Black Mirror, and there are some episodes that I would like to talk about, and that's going to take a whole show. That's going to take a whole show.
Is that what we're doing now? Are we going through like shit we're watching right now? I got a couple of things I want to talk about.
You can go ahead, because I haven't really watched much more than that. I need to catch up on the Flash and stuff. But go ahead.
I want Chase to go first. I'm putting you on the spot.
No, all he watches is a bunch of anime shit that no one cares about.
Oh, that's mean. I don't watch it, but still, that's mean.
Well, Scar's kind of mean sometimes, but he's a good dude.
I mean, with
he's mean in the like. He's mean in the like. You're like, hey, that dude type way. But what have I watched? Well, I watched the most recent episode of Ruby, which it's got pretty good, because I remember when I first started talking about that show that I was like, this is kind of fucking stupid, but then I kept with it, and I was like, this is actually pretty fucking good. Like, it's. But the thing is, I still don't know. I guess there's a big thing that they're trying to do or whatnot, but I don't really see it. But it seems like they got their cliffhangers on fucking lock there, because every episode's a fucking cliffhanger.
They work that shit out with Red versus Blue. Like every time Red versus Blue ended, you're like, fuck. Now I want to know what the fuck's gonna happen next.
But yeah, so I guess it's pretty good. And then I've been what else have I watched? Nothing much. So.
Come on, Chase. Come on. Hurry up. What else?
All right, you know what? I'll go real quick while you collect your thoughts. I have 2 things I want to bang out really quick. One, my wife.
I want to bang out.
Hey-oh. See, where's my slide whistle on my soundboard? My wife and I have just started watching this show at a friend's recommendation. It's a Netflix original. No, it's not an original series, I think. It's a BBC original. It's called The End of the Fucking World.
I've seen it on Netflix. But
it's really good, and it's really, really fucked up. Especially if you get to like episode 4, like some really fucked up shit happens. I'm going to sound like a total nerd dickhead probably when I make this reference, but it reminds me of like a modern version of Catcher in the Rye, because it's about like 2 teenage kids at a pivotal point in their lives, but they're really, really fucking damaged. They're far more damaged than the kid from Catcher in the Rye. And that's all I'll say. But I highly recommend the show. Each episode, it's only 8 episodes. Each episode is 22 minutes. So like you could binge watch the entire thing, and it's probably about the length of a normal movie. So yeah, it's great for binge watching. 22 episodes, really, really quick, super witty and super dark. So I highly recommend that if you're into that. Also, if you really like really dark shit, watch BoJack Horseman. That is a really fucked up show.
I watched the first season.
I think there's 4 seasons now. I think I just finished the 4th, and every time it ends, man, it's so fucked up. It gets even darker beyond the first season. The first season is probably the lightest, and it just gets heavier and heavier. So I recommend that. And last but not least, what I just started watching today is a Netflix original called Big Mouth, and it's a cartoon.
I've heard things.
Yeah, I've seen it, and I've been like, I don't know. And then a friend of mine told me that if you ever watched Duckman back in the day, you'll like Big Mouth. And I was like, oh man, I was a huge Duckman fan. And that was a really fucked up, dark cartoon, especially for the 90s, because it's really ugly. It's really, really garish to look at. But the whole cartoon is about kids going through puberty, and there's like, they're dealing with puberty, and there's actually characters called like the hormone monster that like is like telling them like, you have to go jerk off right now. He's like, no, I can't jerk off right now. Like, I'm not going to do it justice to go through what happens, but if you like, if you like fucked up cartoons and you like Duckman, watch Big Mouth, because Big Mouth is hilarious. If you like John Mulaney's a stand-up comedian. Like, Jordan Peele. Just Jordan Peele. Watch that too.
My ex-wife told me that I needed to watch that also.
It's so funny, dude. It's incredibly funny. I was watching this today, like tears laughing at some of the jokes. So yeah, watch that because I related to it a lot as a kid going through puberty, and like I was like, yes, this show was made for me. Holy shit! So go ahead.
You got a demon telling you to jerk.
Constantly, the guy would not get off my back.
Yeah. So yeah.
Cheers. Did you think of anything else?
Don't leave an awkward silence after I talk about jerking off. Come on, we gotta pick that up and keep going.
All right, moving on because Jason's taking too long. Do you got something?
I watched Amber play video games. Does that count?
I watch a lot of YouTube. I watch a lot of people playing RimWorld. It's kind of my favorite pastime at this point.
Well, I watched some YouTube. I watched some like hardcore concerts and stuff. I watched a Converge concert. I watched people like punch people.
Speaking of music, I listened to the new Nerd album, and it's basically trap Devo.
I like Devo.
Yeah, I like Devo too.
But do you like trap music with your Devo?
I don't know what trap music is, I'll be honest.
UK hip hop?
No, that's grime.
Oh, that's grime? Okay.
I like Ramones. Where would that put me? Would that put me on the positive side of it or the negative side of it?
That would probably put you on the negative side of this.
Okay. I like a lot of chiptune. I like a lot of punk. I'm a big Ramones fan.
It's kind of hip hoppy. It's kind of down south hip hop Devo.
Okay, I was gonna say I like hip hop. I like early '90s hip hop. That's my jam.
Cool. Well, I'm black. I like all hip hop.
You legally required?
Yeah, kind of. But like, I'm one of the few people that actually branch.
I saw a thing on the internet to where it was shared on Facebook to where it's like kids today don't understand Lil Wayne's impact. I was like, I thought Lil Wayne was kids today. Like, am I just out of the loop?
Lil Wayne is my age,
but he's so little.
He's he's really short. Like he's super short. But yeah, well, here's the problem with Lil Wayne. Like now, I mean, he always sounds like he really, like for like the past like 10 or 15 years, he just always sounds like he's high as fuck. And a lot of the stuff he's saying just doesn't make any fucking sense. And when he's featured on songs, he kind of ruins the song these days. But because he's Lil Wayne, they just let him do it anyway. It's like for y'all, I'll say for y'all, it's like listening to your favorite band and then they let Eric Clapton.
Say what you mean, man.
They let
Eric.
Mean. For white people.
White.
Yeah. It's like your favorite band, and then like Eric Clapton shows up, but like Eric Clapton high out of his mind, and then you're like, what the fuck, Eric? Like, but then again, you're like, well, that's Eric Clapton, so I guess this is okay. That's kind of what the Lil Wayne thing is right now.
Well, Eric Clapton gave up like psychedelic music and decided he wanted to like just cover reggae songs. So it's kind of like that's kind of a thing.
True. All right, so let's go into some games we played. I've only played one game, so I'll go last. Well, no, I played two and Impossible.
I only really played one game too, but I played a shitload of it. And like last week, I already talked about it, but I really, really dig this game, and I actually recommend it to anybody that has a PlayStation. Is Gravity Rush? It's a really fucking good game. Like the more I play it,
is that the original Gravity Rush?
Every time I log on to PlayStation, you're playing Persona 4.
Well, actually, Amber is playing that right now because because on the Vita or anything that's associated with a Vita, you can't have multiple profiles. So she just played it on my profile on her own save. So yeah, I actually, since we talked, I actually did finish my last playthrough of Persona 4, which my main goal for that was I was just kind of craving the story, and I wanted to fill up my Persona Codex, and I got 95% of them, which is really dope because like the only ones that I don't have are the ones that I can only get from maxed out social links from social links I've never worked on, which is I think Hermit and Tower and Devil and just this ones that I just never worked on, like the hospital job and like the Fox and the freaking tutor kid. Like I don't know how to do that shit. But But so next play, when I do get around to playing through it, I would definitely try to focus on those and try to get those personas, and then actually maybe have all the personas in the game. Like I actually got to fuse Satan. You know, that's a thing. You can
Satan making a return on this podcast.
Yeah, and actually in this game, Satan and Lucifer are two different personas. But they're because there's a devil arcana and there's also a justice arcana, so you can have like, you know, more angelic personas, or you can have more demonic personas. You know, there's no limit. But I always play a good guy, so I always do the good thing. So I do know that people like go with the bad route and they're like, I'm going to side with the killer and all that stuff. I'm like, fuck you, you fucking like, fucking emo kid,
you animal.
Yeah. So what was I talking about?
Games you played recently?
Oh yeah, Gravity Rush. Like I really, really like that game. Like even people that don't like anime type stuff or Japanese, like if you like anything like Portal or Mirror's Edge, or just like really weird stories. Like I thought this game was just going to be me, like kind of a what you call it, like a gameplay type game, to where it's all based around gameplay, which it is a lot of time because you are fighting the enemies and using your gravity powers and stuff. But the story is so weird, dude. Like at first I thought the city seemed like BioShock Infinite, like it's a city above the clouds, or like Bespin, the Cloud City or something. But it seems like that's the universe. Like, because there's one time I had to go down, and when I was going down to find this letter or something, like I went into these holes, and then when I was going through these tunnels, there was like spines and shit. And I was like, and then there was these areas to where it was all black and white, and I couldn't use my powers, and I just had to fall. And then there'll be like more like giant spines and stuff, and it was like, and then I ended up in this area with all these kids, and it turns out that like while I was there for just like a day or two, like once I got back up to the city, a year had passed, and like it's just this weird like craziness going on. Then I was like, what the fuck is going on in this game? So it's really surprised me that I thought it was going to be this simple game I was going to just like beat in a couple hours. But no, man, this game's a pretty meaty game. It's really good. And I know I'm slurring a lot.
Yes.
Sorry. I'm sure I am too. I'm drinking a bourbon barrel stout right now, so I'm a little in the bag.
Well, I've drank a Imperial IPA, a coffee porter, and a red IPA. So, and the Imperial IPA is 9%. So,
yeah, this one is 14.1%.
Oh shit!
I've only had this though. Only had this one so far.
I thought about having a cinnamon roll, but I declined because I knew Chase was going to get hammered.
Dude, Scar, like when he drank like some sort of not your dad's something,
not your mom's
like,
apple pie beer, and I was gone. I'm a cheap drunk.
Like,
that's not a beer.
It's a cider, but still.
Yeah, there's a lot of like not your father's or not your mom. The not your father's root beer, and I think there's like hard orange soda. That one's pretty good too, actually. I think I don't remember what it's called though.
I always wanted to try that. The Henry's, right?
Yeah, Henry's.
I don't know if you get Bold Rock up there. I thought it was associated with Rolling Rock, but I guess it's not. But it's more of like a it's a kind of a IPA mixed with a apple cider, and it had like this dry like white wine taste to it to me, which it was good. Like I enjoyed it.
All right, so are we continuing the what you playing right now?
Yep, you got it. It's on you.
I'll bang mine out.
This is why we let Chase go first.
I'll bang mine out real quick. I recently bought a Retron 5. I'm a big retro gamer guy, and I'm pretty like religious about playing shit on original hardware. I don't like emulators, but my NES, Super NES, and Genesis they're fucking old, man, and they're not getting any younger. And it's harder and harder to get them to work. So I've been waiting for this console called the Poly Mega, which is supposed to be really cool, but there's been no word on when it's going to release. So the Retron 5, I don't like Retrons normally because they don't work very well, and there's like an input delay. And if you play games like Mega Man, forget it. You can't play a game like Mega Man with input delay. But the Retron 5, it's crazy what this thing does. You plug a cart. It plays Genesis, Famicom, Super Nintendo, Nintendo, Game Boy Color, whole shitload of things. If you plug it in, it pulls the ROM from the cart. And then you can play on the ROM on the Retron, which means you can use things like save states. So I can plug a cart in and save where I am, no matter what I'm playing, any NES game, I can save it and come back to it later, which is awesome. So right now, I'm in the middle of playing Chrono Trigger. I'm not going to talk about a 23-year-old game. Everybody knows how great that game is. I've never beat it, so I'm in the middle of playing that. And when I'm not playing that, I'm playing PUBG on the Xbox One, which I'm totally obsessed with right now. But that's also an older game, and everybody knows what that game's about. So those are the two things I'm bouncing back and forth between, is PUBG and Chrono Trigger.
I've just been playing. I've just been playing a shitload of RimWorld.
What is that? That's got to be a PC game, right?
It is a PC game. It's kind of a city builder / RTS / management / I mean, it's everything in one game. I spent a lot of time playing that game. Yes, survival game. It's like everything, but it has very, very basic graphics.
It's not new, right?
Kind of like a prison architect. It just hit beta. It's an early access game. It's been an early access game for a long time.
I thought it came out like in 2013.
Yeah, it's been early access for a long time, but with the update 18, it just hit beta.
Okay. I'm looking at screens now, top down. Looks kind of SimCity-ish.
Yeah, and it's very well. It's a lot of people say it's kind of Prison Architect-ish.
Yep.
Which I love Prison Architect, by the way. But then that, and then I played a little bit. I finally started playing my PC version of Saints Row 2 because I was watching somebody play it on YouTube and I really wanted to buy it. Steam was having a sale. I bought it for $250, and it kind of started. Everyone kind of warned you against it when you look at the reviews, saying that the PC port is terrible. So they want you to install a mod called Gentlemen of the Row. I went through the process of setting up my mod for Gentlemen of the Row, and the game won't display at all. Like, you can hear the music after I did the Gentlemen of the Row update. You can hear the music, but I can't see anything. It's just a black screen.
Broke it then. That sucks.
Yeah, but you can go back to the mod and revert it back to the original saves. So I think I might end up doing that. But yeah, I just really wanted to play some Saints Row 2 because that is quite possibly my favorite open world game.
Have you played 3? Have you played the 3rd?
I like the 3rd, but it's a way more directed experience. It's not as wide open as 2 was.
But it's so batshit.
Yeah, but no, 2 is batshit. Like one of the activities you could do is called Septic Avenger, where someone drives you around in a septic truck and you just spray shit on people. Like, yeah, I'm gonna say that one is a little bit more batshit.
That was still when they were trying to kind of compete with GTA. I feel like they didn't find their stride until 3. I won't. If that's your favorite one, I'm not going to try to convince you otherwise.
No. I like 3 also. I like 3 also, but it's way more directed. It is not as wide open in like how you go through the different gangs isn't as split off.
Yeah.
As it was in 1 and 2, and we're not going to talk about 4 at all. Fuck 4.
Yeah, 4.
I think 3 is really good, but I think that 2 is probably, in the grand scheme of things, if you look at all the Saints Row games, 2 is probably the best one.
It is the best GTA knockoff that they.
It's the only one I didn't play. I played 1, 3, and 4. I never played 2, so I can't speak of it.
And the good thing about 2 is for people that are about that Nepo life. People who are about that Nepo life, you can actually change the difficulty on 2. You could not in 1.
1 was bad. 1 snuck out before GTA had a current GTA on the current console. Right. That's the only reason 1 was successful. And that's when they were still trying really hard to be a GTA. They took themselves seriously. They didn't go off the rails. So I was glad to see what they did and the direction they took with it. But then THQ, what happened to THQ? So
yeah. So yeah, and I tried to play. There was a mod when I bought the Humble Bundle with Killing Floor and stuff up there. There was a mod that was supposed to be for the first game, and it was more of a military themed, but it wouldn't load for me. And then I looked it up on Steam, and a lot of people were complaining that that there was no support. So they had no one they could contact to say, hey, this thing doesn't really fucking work.
Well, THQ doesn't exist anymore. Like, who the fuck even owns the Saints Row series now? It's like
no,
a drift.
I was talking about Killing Floor.
Oh, Killing Floor. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, it was a Killing Floor mod a mod to the first game, which I found out Killing Floor 1 does not have controller support, so they're not getting very much playtime out of me. So yeah, so that's what I've been playing. Anything that anyone else want to add before we close this out, not including Chase?
I want to ask Chase, is that a Dipper Gravity Falls hat that you were wearing in your Skype little icon there? Because if so, kudos. I've recently started watching Gravity Falls, and I love it.
Yeah, Gravity Falls is pretty awesome. Like, yeah, and that is a Dipper hat. Like, it was actually my son's, and then I kind of took it over after a while because I that was my Halloween costume like last year because I was like, he was like, dress up. And I was like, okay, I'll just put a flannel shirt on and a Dipper hat. And I was like, I'm grown up Dipper.
We recently started using a friend of a friend's Hulu account, so I'm kind of pseudo getting Hulu for free. So I just started watching Gravity Falls, and I got my daughter into it, and she loves it. And I recently saw the Street Fighter episode, and I'm like, holy fuck, I really like this show. Now I love this show. It's so good.
But once you get once you get the later episodes, you're like, this show was made for Disney for kids. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's great. I know the people making it are clearly my age, and they're clearly sending messages directly to me that I was in the middle of making dinner, and my daughter was in the other room, and I can see the TV from where I was making dinner, and the Street Fighter episode came on, and I'm like laughing my ass off, and my daughter is like not getting any of these jokes. Like, oh, this show's so fucking good.
He's like, your pixels are sharp.
So if we're wrapping up, can I plug a few things? Would that be uncouth if I plug a few things?
No, you're cool, except for you're roboting a lot. On my end. Is he roboting to you, Chase?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Forget my plugs then. Go for it.
No. Actually, don't do your plugs. I don't give a shit about the roboting.
All right. Okay. I am now an events coordinator for a place called One Up Games, and we're like a modern version of an arcade. We have like all the modern consoles, VR, stuff like that. And we host tournaments and stuff. So if you're in the Plainville, Foxborough, Rhode Island area of New England, and you're a fan of games like Smash Brothers, Fortnite, Street Fighter, stuff like that, we do tournaments all the time. So look us up, One Up Games. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and Snapchat. It won't take long to find us. One Up Games.
Okay, send me the links. I'll put them in the show notes.
Sure, thank you.
That's all you got?
Yep, that's all I got.
Chase, you got something for me?
Yeah, I would like to give some shout-outs to, I like to shout out Meef J, because, he's the dude that I've never actually, hung out with in person, in gaming ways, because he has an Xbox and I don't have one. And when I did have an Xbox, I couldn't really get in to play with him. But I did play with his ghost in the racing game, the Xbox car game. What am I pausing for?
You were talking about playing with his ghost.
In the car game, the Xbox car game, you play with people's ghosts.
Mm-hmm. Pause. I've actually met him in real life. We sat next to each other. He's very dreamy in person.
Who are we talking about? We talking about Meef Shay?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I've never met him in person. I know exactly what you're talking about, but I've never met him in person.
Yeah, and give shout outs to Bad Fighter Figures again, because they're doing their thing. It's kind of a mismatch of gamers in beta and the 40 cast, and Dad's getting grounded. They got a good feel over there. They got freaking ketchup or mustard man calling in all the time.
They're French.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the Heinz person should call in, like, make a rivalry with him or something.
Start a blood feud.
Yeah. But yeah, I like to shout out Sierra Nevada and Highland and Voodoo and New Belgium because they got me feeling good tonight.
All right. Well, I'm of course shout out to you, Corey, for being on. I really enjoyed this, and when we start doing the Black Mirror, I'm going to make sure that I contact you about this because we're going to do this. We're going to do the Black Mirror episodes, and we're going to do this shit right.
Now, are you going to start from episode 1, season 1, or are you only going to do this recent season 4?
Oh no, we're doing it all. We're starting from the beginning.
I got to go back and watch because I've literally only seen 2 episodes, but I'm a huge sci-fi nerd and I'm a big fan of Twilight Zone. So I will go back and watch. I'll do my homework. I would be happy to be a part of it. It's been my pleasure. Thank you very much for asking me on.
We're gonna start with pink fucker and all. But yeah, we're gonna do that. So we're gonna start with that, and I'll make sure that when we get on that I make sure that one of us will contact you and be like, "Yo, we talking about the first episode. Holla at your boy." So thank you, because like I had no idea that I was trying to push Chase off, and Chase was like, I have a guest. I was like, holy shit, I guess I got to do the show. But I'm so glad I did, because this was very, very, very enjoyable. And I know that you said that time got a little bit short for doing like podcasts and stuff like that, but you should totally fucking do that shit.
I'll make it as much as I can. I can't promise every week, but if you guys do like a Black Mirror thing, I would be more than happy to do my homework and discuss episode by episode. That sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, no. We'll get it popping. But when we do it, we'll make sure that we put that call in. But yeah, man, this is a very fun but very gaming heavy show. So all of the people who don't care much about games are probably gone by now. Sorry about that. And so this has been Scarcasm Live. For the homie Chase and for Corey, I'm Scarfinger, and we're out of here.
Snoochie Boochies.
I like that shit, yeah, boy. Yeah, I'm telling you, Whoa. I'm telling. All right, I ain't gonna talk.